Hi, I'm Anya, also known as Meppity, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the perfect portfolio and how to get into the CalArts character animation program. A lot of you may know about me because of my affiliation with CalArts. I mean, the sketchbook and portfolio videos that I posted online a couple years back are kind of the reason that my channel grew to the size that it grew. So a lot of my audience seems to be young artists and animators who are looking to pursue a career in the animation industry. That makes sense, because hey, me too. Now, I made a video about my portfolio in the past, and I've talked about my sketchbooks plenty before. Those videos are very specific to me and my approach to art, but today's video is more so a consolidation of what CalArts recommends and how I suggest you guys approach your own personal work. Now, before anyone questions me, this video is actually approved by CalArts themselves, which is super cool. Thank you, CalArts, for letting me do this, and I really hope you find it helpful. Judging by the fact that my script for this video is 18 pages long, my longest script yet, whoa, this is probably going to be a long video, but hey, I'm getting really detailed and I really hope that you guys find this helpful. So sit down, get comfy, grab a snack, get some tea. Oh, I was gonna get a teacup. Never mind, I am not thirsty. It's 6 a.m. Let's get moving. I get asked all the time. It's probably one of my biggest, most asked questions is, how do I get into the character animation program? We have like a 4 to 6% acceptance rate. It's super tricky and it can be really overwhelming. So I want to answer that in one well put together video, and I also want to do that to kind of take the pressure off for you guys a little. I think making art and enough of it that's good enough is hard enough already, let alone having to like figure out what art to make and why you're making it. So yeah, this is basically like a roadmap for people who end up applying to the character animation program. I say character animation, but really this video is going to be useful to anyone applying to any art school, because we're really going to cover the principles of good art and why things are good and how to do that and ways to demonstrate how skilled you are at various things. I mean, even if you're not making a portfolio, this video can give you some good direction on how to improve your art in a more general way. Also, please keep in mind that if you're watching this several years down the line, the application requirements may be a little bit different. There may be wording that's changed on the CalArts website and so forth. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of like how to submit your work and like which uploading site thingies they use. I mean, all of that's changed since I applied to CalArts, so I don't even really know, TBH. But yeah. The main stuff has been the same for years and years and years, and is likely to stay the same for many more years to come too. Before we dive in, let's talk about today's sponsorship. Oh, but wait. I promise today's sponsor is super applicable to today's video, and it may just change your life just like it changed mine. And no, I'm not being dramatic. I literally mean today's sponsor is a huge part of why I am where I am today. Introducing CalArts Extended Studies. So a few months ago, when I was writing the script, I was looking into the ways that I had prepared for my portfolio application. And one of the biggest helpers was the CalArts Extended Studies Portfolio Development Workshops. Now, I took 2 of these in 2016. One was a character design portfolio development workshop that was with John Mahoney, and another was a story workshop with Michael Herrera. If you want to know just how much extended studies shaped the Anya or the Meppity you know and hopefully love, the character design course that I took when I was 15 is where I learned about texture and preventing my digital art from looking so, well, digital. So it really just shaped the style I have today. And then the story class that I took, that is where I first developed my OC Janie, as well as my story Stuck in the Globosphere, which is a series I really want to make someday. But yeah, so I was writing this script and I was like, hang on a second, what if I just reach out to Extended Studies? Maybe they'd be willing to sponsor me. And guess what? They were! So thank you very much. Anyway, enough about me and Extended Studies. Let's talk about how Extended Studies can help you. First off, what is Extended Studies? CalArts Extended Studies is an academic division of CalArts and was founded on campus. It is a range of programs taught by faculty, alumni, and industry professionals. They offer a huge range of courses ranging from things like graphic design and music and creative writing to, of course, animation. Extended Studies hosts both online and in-person programs, meaning that anyone from the world can access them. Plus, it offers summer opportunities, but also year-round opportunities. So hey, even if you're getting to this video late, there's probably still something that you can attend regardless of what time of year it is. So here's a couple examples of courses they offer. Portfolio Development Workshops. Now, these are online and open to anyone 14 and over. Enrollment literally just opened, so I highly recommend checking this out whilst you can. And there's 3 available. There's for artists and animators, there's character design, and there's visual storytelling. These are actually the courses that I took. They also have the Animation Intensive. This is also online and open to anyone 14 and over, and the enrollment ends sometime in late May. So again, 2023 May, if you're hitting this video before that time, I highly recommend heading over to the website and checking this information out. Then there's the High Touch Animation, Drawing, Design, and Story course. This is open to anybody who is graduated from high school, so anyone like 17 and above. It's also online, and the deadline for this one is in June. And then they have the Summer Animation Residency. This is actually in person on the CalArts campus, and it's the first year that they've brought this back since the pandemic, which is super exciting stuff. It's open to anybody over the age of 18, and the deadline to apply is super duper soon, like less than 2 weeks. So if you're hitting this video in time, I suggest you hop on it right now. Then there's the 24/7 Coursera classes. They have a whole bunch of these, but I actually have some courses that are taught by my teachers. They offer the classes to do with game design. So that's Intro to Game Design, Character Design for Games, Story and Narrative Development for Video Games, and then Game Design Document, Define the Art and Concepts. Extended Studies offers both credit and non-credit courses, and you can get this stuff recorded onto your transcript. They also offer Coursera certificates. All of this information can be found on the Extended Studies website, which is linked down below. I really suggest you check this stuff out because even if it's not something you might be interested in right now, it's something that maybe will be useful later down the line. Or if you think that it's too early for you to get interested in this, reminder, I took these classes when I was 15. Tons of my classmates have taken Extended Studies classes, and I think all of us can agree that they really truly helped shape us as artists. For those of us that took them before applying to CalArts, it really helped boost our portfolios, which is exactly what this video is about. To top things off, I have an amazing offer for you. The first 30 people to use code Meppity get 10% off tuition from all portfolio development workshops. Now, please note you need to get accepted into the program for the discount to be applied, but if you don't get accepted, you don't pay the tuition anyway, so, makes sense. I'd really love to hear from you guys. If any of you have already taken any of these courses or are interested or end up applying to any of these courses, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your experience and your thoughts. It's kind of wild to think that now when you go on their website you can type in Meppity and it does something because 15-year-old Anya would never have expected that. It's honestly bizarre, but in the best way possible. But yeah, seriously, thank you Extended Studies for being willing to sponsor me. Thank you for helping so many young artists around the world, and we're finally going to go back into the main video. Alright, catch you on the flip side. I'm going to be directly referencing the CalArts website quite a lot throughout the video, so that is linked down in the description. And there's a whole bunch of other resources. I'm going to also link my previous CalArts related videos. I'm also going to link my Patreon, because there I have full scans of my full CalArts application, as well as, I believe, my artist statement and my video introduction, which are things I haven't publicized anywhere else. And they're really cringy for me, but you know what? They got me in, so... A portfolio, whether it be a student or a professional portfolio, is always looking for how good you are. Good at what, you ask? Well, that's a little harder to define, but I've been doing some personal investigation, and I think there are 4 key elements that define a good portfolio. Or rather, there's 4 elements that can be demonstrated within a portfolio that are really important to being successful. And those elements are technical skills, creativity, personality, and enthusiasm. So first is technical skills. That's about observation, draftsmanship, line control, and so forth. It's a little drier, but is really vastly important to making your work look good. But what are you making look good? Your ideas, and ideas fit into the creativity category. This is all about your unique interpretation of the world. How can you make fun characters and stories and worlds and so forth? And that ties in nicely to personality. Personality applies to both you as a person and your artwork and what's conveyed in that. Basically, it's a bit of you encapsulated in your artwork. If you're a nice, kind individual who has really cool, interesting thoughts, it's always a pleasure to look at your portfolio. And finally, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is both having a good attitude and being positive and having a love for the craft, and is also about being excited to explore, to try new things, to experiment and maybe sometimes fail. Really good art doesn't just come the first time around perfectly. There's often a level of trial and error that's required to get to a good final piece. Think about any making of book or documentary. You can always see the trials and tribulations of getting to that final product, but honestly, that's most of the fun. Enthusiasm is important because that's what cultivates a healthy working environment and also a healthy finished product. Please note, knowledge of software and robust use of media is actually not something that CalArts is super worried about, and this is for a variety of reasons. One of them being that this software is kind of super hard to find out about and can be really expensive. And it's just super inaccessible. Things like Toon Boom, Harmony and Storyboard Pro, or Maya, TV Paint, After Effects, all of it costs money, and I didn't even know most of this software existed until I started my classes at CalArts. But what they're looking for is your good ideas. Anybody can learn software, but it's much harder for a school to teach people to have good ideas and a good attitude. Another thing that the school isn't really worried about is knowledge of studios, different job positions, exactly what career trajectory you want to take, etc. And that's because that's kind of what school is for. A lot of the learning we do is finding out every little bit of the pipeline and really finding what you love and what you gravitate towards. And it's often hard to figure that stuff out until you've tried every bit of the pipeline. And if you're coming straight from high school, you probably have never had time to make a fully animated film before to do the finding out. And also, honestly, so many of us at CalArts, we end up completely reevaluating ourselves and completely changing what we thought we wanted to do. Like when I came into the animation world, I wanted to be a story artist and a character designer. Now, I still love character design, but it isn't really going to help me get to where I eventually want to be. And turns out storyboarding is like my least favorite thing ever. I don't think I'm bad at it, but I really don't enjoy doing it. And instead, I have found out about producing and screenwriting. Those are now my two favorite things to do, which is funny because honestly, like the less drawing, the better for me. I'd much rather tell other people what to do, lol. But yeah, that kind of stuff is not necessary at all, honestly. And plus, if anything, it could kind of hinder you. Having that kind of tunnel vision can mean you don't end up trying new things. Alright, now we're at the bulk of this video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each point on the application requirements on the CalArts website, and I'm going to break down exactly what they're asking for and why. By breaking down exactly what CalArts is asking for, you'll be able to better focus your attention on the right aspects of your portfolio and may also gain a better understanding for why some past submissions were and were not successful. Part 1. Observational artwork. Minimum of 15 total. Observational artwork consists of drawings done from the direct study of life. This can be any subject in your environment, human and animal alike. You must include examples of the following categories of observational drawing in any number you choose. Part A. Observational life drawings of human models. These observational drawings should range from short pose lengths, gesture drawings, to longer pose lengths, and should indicate the model's faces, hands, and feet. Drawings of nude models are preferred, but costume drawings may be included. Applicants in the character animation program must demonstrate experience working with the live model and ideally have at least 1 year's worth of experience studying figure/life drawings. Okay, that's a lot. We're going to go and break this down into minute detail. Let's go. Gesture drawings, aka short poses. Now, these typically range from 30 seconds to 3 minutes, so they're super duper quick and are often done with traditional media like charcoal on large pieces of paper. Gesture drawing is fantastic for dynamic poses and is good for capturing an essence of energy, flow, movement, whatever word you want to choose. Basically, it's about finding the essence of a pose. Gesture drawing is also fantastic for breaking down an image and really figuring out what is essential to making something feel recognizable. I mean, you don't have time to draw every single finger and the minutiae of a facial expression or the detail of clothing. It's really about capturing the feeling of what you're seeing. Finally, gesture drawing helps you get faster at drawing, and this is a really important skill for people entering the animation industry where things are super duper fast paced and you have a lot of frames per second in animation. Longer pose lengths. Now, I deem a longer pose anything above 5 minutes, and that's because you now have a chance to work in details such as fabric, patterns, textures, a little bit more shading, a little bit more nuance in the facial expression, and so forth. In most of my CalArts classes, the longest poses we've done is only 15 minutes. So when we say long pose lengths, it can range from 5 to 15 minutes, and it can also be over an hour, you know, like the traditional long life drawing stuff, but that is less common and less what CalArts is looking for. There's so many ways to observe a model and even more ways to interpret what you've observed. So this kind of applies to both long and short poses, but okay, here's just like a couple different examples of ways you can draw. Blind contour. So that is when you draw without looking at the page. Now, these drawings can get really funky, but they help you build your muscle memory, your sense of space, and they also really force you to actually look at what you're seeing. Because now you're not drawing what you're thinking you're seeing, you're drawing what you're actually seeing. And then single line drawing. This is a fun activity to, again, get you to creatively observe the model in front of you, because what this is you're not taking your pen off the page. The whole drawing is done in one line, and so this kind of encourages you to see how each piece of a body or a costume and so forth connects to the next piece. How does the torso connect to the shoulder, which connects to the neck and the head, and how can you articulate the nostrils and the eyes in an interesting way, and so forth. And silhouette. Silhouette's a fun one. This can be like blocking in the basic shape of the model, but this can also be blocking in the negative space of the model. And what this does is to help you observe the image as a whole. It shows strength in composition and really figuring out what makes a pose readable. Because if you take out all the detail and you can still see what's happening in your image, that's a really good sign. One type of silhouette drawing that I like to do is I make like a line, like I don't fill it in. I just go around as if I'm tracing the outer edge of the model, and even if I observe really hard, it kind of gets a little wonky sometimes, but then when I fill in with detail afterwards, it makes the proportions kind of wild and weird, but in a really fun way. And yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do. I personally do not think you need to worry too much about really long poses, anything that's like an hour plus. You are welcome to include some beautifully rendered paintings and so forth and a real good value study, but as animators, this isn't necessarily something that we would do very often, so it's up to you. Just don't worry about getting too much of that kind of stuff in. Models' faces. So a mark of a weak portfolio is a lack of faces. And look, we all know that faces are pretty tricky. They're very complex and hard to do from different angles and so forth. But that's why it's so important to practice, to get it right, and to show that you're brave enough to include them in your portfolio. To put it bluntly, if you're not ready to draw faces and facial expressions, then you're not ready to work in the animation industry. We're all about acting and articulation here, and so much of that is done in the face. And also, if you don't include faces, it just kind of makes the rest of the drawing feel unfinished. Faces are so important for how humans connect with each other. They are the main capturer of emotion, and so you really want to understand how to articulate eyes. Are they wide or are they narrow? Or how is the mouth being held? Is the brow furrowed or is it not furrowed? That kind of thing. Along those lines, faces can also fall into that uncanny valley, and that's something you want to avoid. We want to make sure that you have drawings with appeal, and this is a reminder that appeal does not mean pretty. Appealing means something that you would be willing to spend time looking at. Hands and feet. Like faces, hands and feet are often a marker of an artist's skill. They're super anatomically complex, and they're really fun to draw once you get the hang of them, because even though they're not faces, they're super expressive and can be held in a variety of ways, especially hands. A tightly balled up fist is gonna feel very different to a gentle open palm. Also, wink wink, nod nod, you're not very slick for hiding hands behind backs and so forth. The people reviewing your art are incredibly seasoned artists, and they can tell when someone is trying to be tactical about the way that they're posing something so that they don't have to work as hard. It's kind of like, when you're a kid and you draw a cow or something, and then you realize, hang on, I don't know how hooves work, so you just hide them in the grass. Yeah, we can see right through that, unfortunately. Nude models. Now, this is what the school prefers, and this is for a variety of reasons. Nude models really help show your understanding of the human body without anything else getting in the way. This is how is fat distributed? How does the skin sit? Is it loose? Is it tight? What is going on with underlying anatomy? What can you see underneath the skin? Even though cartoons don't typically contain nudity, knowing what's going on underneath the clothes is really important to make the clothes look convincing on top. but why let your observations only be skin deep? Now, this is less of a life drawing thing and more of a studying pictures on the internet type of thing, but I really strongly suggest looking into skeletons and musculature. This is both for humans and animals. If you really know what's going on with your bones and then your muscles, then it makes a lot more sense when you're putting the skin on top of that. Costume drawings, which are optional. Now, I personally think costume drawings are great. They should only be supplementary to nude models, but they show off a completely different set of skills. For example, costumes completely change the silhouette of a model oftentimes, and so navigating that is a good skill to have, and is also very interesting when it comes to personality, character. Like, how can you make what the costume is match the personality that it's generating, if that makes any sense. It's also fun to observe how fabric falls and how it interacts with light. For example, like a thick, shiny leather jacket is going to behave very differently to a silky little slip dress. B. Observational drawings from real life. Drawings and sketches of people, in this case not models, and animals from real life. Drawings of interior and exterior environments. Urban sketching, location drawings, cafe drawings, etc. Non-model sketches. Candid drawings of people are great because they add this added challenge of, oh crap, this person could move at any second, gotta work really fast. It's also good for highlighting naturalistic poses, often with models that either kind of just lounging or they're holding like a really dynamic pose or something that isn't typically natural. But with candid drawings, it's just going to be people sitting, going about their day, doing ordinary human people things. It's pretty rare for a life drawing session to have multiple models at once and having those models interacting with each other, but when you're out in the real world, you're much more likely to witness some of that character interaction happening. And hey, good stories don't tend to have just one character, they tend to be about character relationships, so if you can witness that in a form of candid life drawing, then that's great. As an example, you could draw your family at the dinner table or two people talking to each other in a cafe. Animals. Humans are not the only creatures that exist on this planet. By doing animal studies, you are not only getting a better understanding of those animals, but you're also giving yourself more tools to create believable fictional creatures. There's so many animals out there, so it's really beneficial to try out a range of them. So that's like quadrupeds, bipeds, feathered creatures, fish, and so forth. Because there's so many different animals out there, it can get a little overwhelming. But don't worry, you don't need to do everything. If you're kind of struggling to choose what animals to focus on, I personally recommend things like your pets or animals that are local to you. Pick something that informs either your interests or your culture, your background, or just you as a person. You can do animal studies the same way you can do human studies. So blind contour, single lines, skeletal studies, and so forth. It's all beneficial, all good and fun to do. Interior/exterior environments. Now, drawing environments is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate a wide range of skills, one of those being perspective. Perspective is often a make or break aspect for a successful piece of art. Indoor and outdoor structures often have a lot of parallel lines, which helps to demonstrate your understanding of vanishing points, horizon lines, and scale. You also can demonstrate scale with places like a cafe or a giant train station or a skyscraper or a tiny little shed. And also with natural environments too, big tall trees versus like little bushes and small flowers. Building atmosphere. As far as I'm aware, most stories don't take place in the void. So by studying a variety of places, you can build a repertoire of locations with different, for lack of a better word, vibes. Specificity. How do you make, say, a medieval witch's evil lair feel different to a 1950s suburban kitchen? Well, it's how the space is filled. The more attention to detail you pay, the more that an environment can say about itself. So is it messy or is it organized? Is it very minimal or is it very detailed and ornate? Is it fashionable or is it dated? All of these elements informs us of who occupies this space, because at the end of the day, an environment is an extension of the people that belong to it. Urban sketching, location drawing, cafe drawings, etc. Now, I think I've for the most part already covered what I want to say about this set of skills, but one final thing is this kind of marries together non-model drawing and environment studies, because now you're putting the characters into the environment. You're creating a whole piece, a whole finished scenario, and that is really nice to see. Keep in mind, drawings should be from observing real life, exploring elements such as shape, form, contour, contrast, ambience, and mood. Okay, this is basically what this video is all about, just in a much more concise way. Like, these are just little elements that you need to demonstrate in your work. Do not erase all of your construction lines while drawing from life. They are especially helpful to the faculty in understanding your approach to observational drawings. In the animation industry, most work is not finished product material. It's about generating ideas, exploring, passing that on. As long as you can communicate in your art, that's what's important. So naturally, showing your thought process is much more important than focusing on the end result. I mean, eventually the end result is important, yes, but you're working with a huge team more often than not, and you don't need to be perfect to show your ideas. Do not submit traced pictures or copies of work by others. I mean, this one should go without saying, right? Art theft is never cool, and also if you're doing this, it indicates a lack of imagination, but we're supposed to be people with good ideas, you know? Don't copy people. Simple. The pains of being a YouTuber. I just sat down and recorded this whole next section for like an hour, and then realized that I forgot to press record on my mic. So, here we go again. Part 2. Other creative work. Images should be uploaded into the online portfolio and can include any combination of the following: sequential image storytelling, work that showcases your ability to tell a story and develop a character. For example, storyboards, graphic novels, flip books, short animations or short stories with thumbnails. Digital creative work, animated or still, creative work that you produce or manipulate in one or more computer programs. This might take the form of 2D digital art, illustrations, concept art, character designs, prop designs, cartoons, photography, or computer graphics, CG. Other work, non-digital, paintings, drawings, illustrations, concept art, character designs, prop designs, cartoons. Plastic arts, sculptures, ceramics, installations, etc. Online presence. Provide URLs to your website, Instagram, Tumblr, Behance, etc. Add the URLs in the links upload of the online portfolio. Sequential image storytelling. Animation is essentially just an elaborate form of sequential image storytelling, so this makes a lot of sense. Storyboards. These are essential and the foundation to what will become a fully animated story. Despite only having a few images in comparison to a full animation, they still need to convey the full story. Everything we need to see has to be paced right, has to be composed correctly, and has to be understandable. Being selective with which panels you choose is a skill within itself, especially because professional board artists have to work fast and they have a lot of material they need to cover, and so if you get too animated with your boards, you're kind of just wasting time. That being said, there's still a lot of drawings in board art. For example, for me, I have an almost 10-minute long film that I'm working on, and there's well over 600 panels. 600 panels is actually not enough. I still need more for it to really come through nicely. So yeah, you need to learn to be fast and loose with your drawings. But being fast and loose does not mean messy. You still need to focus on clarity because clarity is king. Can you make sure that the audience understands what's going on in your panels? If you can, great. If they can't decipher what your vague blobs are, you need to work on your boards. Graphic novels and short stories with thumbnails. Now, I've sort of lumped these two together because even though the drawings can range from really loose little non-precious things to fully rendered illustrations, they both kind of incorporate the idea of writing and are not so dependent on the panels before and after them. They're a little bit more like selective beats that the artist chooses to focus on. This focuses more on matching the tone of the story with the images, and also is a good chance for you to show off your rendering and inking skills. Flipbooks and animation. With flipbooks and animation, you are now being as sequential as it gets. I mean, you're drawing on a frame-by-frame basis, meaning that the audience no longer has to fill the gaps with their imagination. Animation is all about understanding movement and demonstrating your sense of timing and spacing, etc. 2D digital art. Yep, really broad category. Any kind of drawing can fit in here, but essentially this is about showing your understanding of software like Photoshop or Procreate. I know I said earlier that having a bunch of different software under your belt isn't super important, and that still rings true, but in a day and age where iPads and tablets are becoming more and more accessible to people, I know they're still expensive, but we're getting there. It's easier and easier to be able to do digital art from a younger age. And also, pretty much everything we see online these days, feature films, TV shows, people's personal artwork on Instagram, almost all of it is digital. So it makes sense to, get a grasp of that. Because if you don't, then you're just going to have to do a lot of catch up. Almost every single class that I take at CalArts is digital artwork. Illustrations. Now, this whole time I've been saying that we don't need to see fully polished, finished up pieces, and that is true for the most part, but it is always lovely to include something that really is fully rendered, fully thought out, because now you're rewarding the people looking at your work by showing what you've been setting out to create in the first place. And plus, it shows your rendering skills, your ability to draw on little details, and so forth. Concept art. Concept art is wonderful for world building and showing how different elements relate to each other. Concept art can involve things like landscapes and designing houses and rocks and plants, but also things like elemental stuff, magic, and so forth. How can you design a variety of different things but make them feel cohesive as if they're part of the same world? Though backgrounds aren't necessarily concept art, I'm going to lump them in here and say layout is a wonderful way of showing things like perspective and scale. How can you create a place that feels convincing enough that I could just step inside of the frame and be there? Concept art, along with all the other design categories, is a great place to show your ability to research and to interpret what you have observed and learnt from the world around you, and to create a new environment that feels authentic and specific. Character design. Without characters, it's kind of hard to make stories happen. So this is really important and is one of the most popular trajectories people aim for in the animation industry, so the stakes are high. Source material. It's easy to go down the generic or stereotypical route for a character, but if you're doing research and doing something that feels a little bit more attentive and careful, that gets noticed. Simplification. One element of good character design is knowing when to strip away details, and basically boiling down a character to its essence without compromising on functionality or appeal. Shape language. Circles, squares, triangles, straight lines and curves, etc. are always included in good character designs. How can you play with different types of shapes and make them into something new? Similarly, it's really fun to play with proportions. How big or small can something be? How long or how short? We are very lucky as artists to not be bound by physics when it comes to our designs. We can also fib our way through functionality and make anything work. So why not push things to their extremes and see how far you can go without things kind of falling apart and no longer looking recognizable? Lineups. Lineups are basically putting multiple characters from the same story into one line. Now, this is really good because you can do one character design on their own and it can look great, cool, fine, but you're not demonstrating cohesivity with this. If you have multiple characters put together with different shapes, different proportions, different personalities, how can you ensure that they all feel right together? A good challenge I recommend is designing a gigantic character and plonking it next to a teeny tiny character. Turnarounds. Now, some people say that turnarounds are boring and dry, blah blah blah. I personally love them, and they are a great technical demonstration because they show off your ability to draw a character from multiple angles, aka solid drawing. Even if your designs are really graphic and simple, you still need to be able to convince the audience that this character could turn from this side to this side and be the same creature. Prop designs. Now, I've pretty much said everything I want to say already from character design, but one final thing is prop design provides the additional challenge of bringing an inanimate object to life. Props are an extension of the personalities they belong to and the world they live in. So how can you express that through something that doesn't talk and doesn't move? Well, I mean, some props move, but we'll ignore that for now. Cartoons. I mean, I've also kind of talked about cartoons through the design stuff and the graphic novel stuff. It's just about picking out drawings and illustrations that feel simplified and exaggerated and fun and that tell a story. How can you create an image that is memorable and interesting to look at? Photography. Even though you're not drawing, photography still can demonstrate things that are really important within animation and storytelling, such as mise en scène. Mise en scène? Mise en scène? I'm not French, I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyway, basically what is happening within the frame. Things like composition and lighting. How can you manipulate those things to set an ambiance and to tell a story or present an idea? Computer graphics, aka CG. Now, this is another really broad topic, and like 2D digital art, this is super popular in the animation industry. Everything ranging from TV to feature to, again, people's personal art. There's a lot of CG, such as Maya or Blender or Cinema 4D or ZBrush. So if you can, I highly recommend learning and practicing some of that stuff because you never know when you may need it, and you may surprise yourself. I know that most people that apply to the character animation program aren't particularly interested in 3D. If you are, you end up going to places like Ringling instead, but yeah, it's definitely something that shouldn't be ignored, and even if you are more focused on 2D, 3D is so great to incorporate into your workflow. It can help in so many kinds of ways. I, for example, did not think I would be a CG gal, but all of the backgrounds that I'm doing for my film at the minute are 3D. So yeah, 3D models and animation highlight your understanding of, well, 3D. Texturing, lighting, rigging, animation, all of that is very different when it comes to 3D art compared to like 2D or physical stop motion. It's a unique set of skills that are very hireable and are just good to have under your belt. Other creative work that is non-digital. Again, most of my points have already been addressed in the previous sections, but to add, with traditional work, You are working more tactilely, and that is really fun. Honestly, being able to physically hold your art is unbelievably satisfying, and I wish I did it more. I also think that there's a level of bravery that's included in traditional art. I mean, you have no blending modes, you have no layers, and you have no undo button. So how can you fix a mistake when it comes to that kind of thing? If you're working in pen or paint, like how do you navigate and problem solve that? This is a skill that I think is really useful to show off. Like, if I do make a mistake in pen, am I going to convert that line into something else? Am I just going to embrace it and ignore it? Or am I going to put a post-it note over the top to be like, hey, I made a mistake, I'm acknowledging that, but I also want to fix it, but I'm also showing you what's underneath. All kinds of things you can do. Color mixing. Without the luxury of blending modes, you have to be really particular with which colors you're choosing and how you use them. And this also varies from media to media. Gouache behaves differently to oil, which behaves differently to alcohol markers, which behaves differently to colored pencils. Showing your understanding of color through these materials is really useful. That being said, in your first year in character animation, you are not making a film in color. It has to be black and white. So it's something that isn't super necessary, but if it's something you want to show off, great, go for it. Recently, I've been taking a painting class at school, and prior to this, it has been literally like 3 years since I've properly painted anything. And so even though this class is just under 3 hours and I don't really get to finish my paintings each time, I have learnt so much, and I'm really proud of the pieces that have come out from it. Plastic arts. Now, this is a wide range of things, including sculpture, ceramics, installation, and so forth. And what this reminds me of is that all art disciplines inform each other. For example, animation is the study of movement, right? But you know what else is? Dance. Animation is also the study of emotion, storytelling, etc. You know what else does that? Acting. Installation space is like world building, except it's something more physical and interactive. Ceramics and sculpture is about creating a solid 3D form and exploring dimensionality, which is something that is ever present in animation and design. So yeah, if you are showing different disciplines in your portfolio, it doesn't mean that it's not animation related. There's always some kind of connection that can be made. Online presence. It can be hard to narrow down your portfolio to just a few pieces. So if you link an online presence, such as an Instagram or a portfolio website, you suddenly have the opportunity to show off a lot more artwork. Be careful here though. Your digital footprint is forever and is also pretty accessible. If you're sharing this link with faculty, make sure that the stuff they're seeing isn't something that's going to deter them from accepting you. This is one of the reasons I recommend a portfolio website, because it's a nice curated professional setting for your work. Or if you have an art Instagram, make sure it's just strictly art. I mean, you can show off personal things, pictures of your cats, your face, and your opinions about things, sure, but you just never know how that's going to make people feel, and also it might just be annoying to have to sift through a bunch of like pictures that the faculty don't care about just to look at more art occasionally. Yeah, so be particular with what you're sharing here. And this is a reminder that CalArts isn't just looking for good artists, they're looking for good people too. No one wants to hire an asshole, so don't be one. At this point, you may be wondering, okay, I know what to do, but Anya, how many pieces am I supposed to submit? Now, that's a good question, and I don't really have a solid answer, and neither does CalArts, it seems, but let me try and help out a little. The CalArts website recommends at least 15 pieces for each section, but that still feels super vague. Truth is, the number is up to you. Just make sure that you are giving us a well-rounded review of your art, your ability, your tastes and stuff, but don't overwhelm the audience with too much. Still too vague? Okay. My personal recommendation is to include anywhere between 30 and 40 pieces. You really want to make sure that every piece you have in there demonstrates something that is not showed off by any other piece. I'm about to rattle off a big old list of things you can include in your portfolio and your sketchbook. Now, this is a kind of all over the place list of specific things, broad things, things that can stand on their own, things that need to be combined with something else, whatever. But yeah, this list is pretty much everything that I think you can include in a portfolio. So I've written it out and I'm gonna leave a link in the description if you want to make a copy and turn it into a checklist. And hopefully it'll kind of give you a bit of a roadmap for where you might want to go with your application materials. Anyway, without further ado, let's go. Observational work. Creative interpretations of observational material, character designs, which includes character lineups, shape language exploration, proportion exploration, candid studies, such as cafe sketches, film studies, so things that focus on lighting, composition, etc., world building and exploration of culture, progression of an idea from start to finish, so observation to exploration to the final piece, storyboards and sequential image storytelling, which includes thumbnails but also cleaner boards, finished illustrations, loose sketches, detail drawings, exercises in simplification, blind contour drawings, single line drawings, negative space and silhouette drawings, foreshortening, locomotion studies, characters interacting, the same prop or character but from multiple different angles, anatomy, skeletons and musculature, fabric, a variety of emotions, a variety of poses, humans, so nude and costume, different body parts, so hands and feet, and different body types, animals, bipeds, quadrupeds, no-legged creatures, fur, feathers, scales, plants, props, architecture, interior versus exterior, varying senses of scale, perspective, which can include 1, 2, and even 3-point perspective, interesting color schemes, interesting lighting, variety of rendering techniques, a variety of art styles, varied media, such as charcoal, gouache, digital, colored pencil, fine liner, etc. So yeah, that's a lot you can work with, and even within those categories, there's plenty of subcategories you could make for yourself. When I was working on my sketchbook and my portfolio, I made my own personal checklist of things I wanted to demonstrate, and this was not only the artistic side, which is what this list was about, but also the personality side. Like, for example, I wanted to do the progression from observation to character design final piece thing. But how did I want to do it? I wanted to demonstrate it with local fauna that was around me. So I ended up picking trees, and I did tree studies and I turned them into characters. So yeah, you can kind of like create 2 sets of lists and check them off as you go. Part 3. Video introduction. I'm only going to read off what's on the website. I'm not going to go into any detail for the video introduction portion of the video, but to echo what's being said in the rest of the requirements, faculty are looking for authenticity and a real genuine presentation of self, and also some enthusiasm. Be nice, be excited, be happy, and that's pretty much it. We would like to meet you. And since this is impossible in practical terms, we ask that you record a short video of you introducing yourself. Duration, minimum of 30 seconds, maximum of 90 seconds. Speak directly to the camera. Do not read from a prepared statement. No edits. No special effects or on-screen overlays. Files should be uploaded or linked directly to the portfolio section of the CalArts application. It does not require professional level equipment. Cell phone cameras or consumer cameras are okay. As far as I can tell, the artist statement isn't really a huge deal, and that's because I believe by the time they get to it, the review team is probably already either interested or not interested in you. Regardless, I think it's important to write something from the heart and to do a good job of it. What inspires you to make your art? This could be what films, movies, books, etc. you consumed whilst growing up. This could also be in relation to your home and the people around you. Only you know the answers to your personal story, so there's really no right or wrong with this. You can be as obscure as you want, as long as it's authentic. Why are you applying to the character animation program at CalArts? You can be honest here too. CalArts is well aware of its reputation, so it's totally fine to talk about famous alumni and the school's connection to the industry. It makes sense for us to want to be here for those reasons. I highly suggest talking about the school and the character animation program in a way that indicates the amount of research you've done. It's easy to just go online, look at some international rankings or something, and see CalArts at the top of a couple lists. But do you really know what's going on with the program? Do you really know what's so special about the school? Show to the faculty that you care about being at CalArts specifically, not just in name, but in what it can provide you with. For example, character animation is always collaborating with the music school. The music school has wonderful composers that often score our films. That's a unique opportunity that other visual art schools don't often get. You can also talk about course specifics. For example, we at Character Animation make an independent film all 4 years that we're here. That's pretty unusual. Most schools either only do a thesis film or do group films. So if that's something that appeals to you, that's a good reason to talk about. What are your artistic goals? This is big and broad and possibly difficult to answer, so here are some more specific sub-questions that you can consider. What sort of career trajectory are you looking to end up on? This can be specific, or this can be an honest, kind of like, I don't know, I just want to have fun and figure it out type of answer. What type of projects do you want to do? So do you want to work in film or series, commercials, music videos, etc.? Do you want to work in documentary? Do you want to work for kids? Do you want to work with adult stuff? What impact do you want to leave on the world with your art? Do you want to make people feel empowered or seen? Do you want to make people laugh? Do you want to make them cry? Do you want to make people research other topics? How do you want people to interact with what you put out there? How does art fulfill you? Is it a kind of therapeutic thing? Does it feel like it's your calling? Why do you enjoy making art? The artist statement is a great way of getting to understand yourself a little better. When I was writing my artist statement, I had to reflect and think, hang on a second, what do I want to achieve with myself? Why am I pursuing this career, and why do I feel so passionate about it? Being able to put this kind of thing into words is pretty exciting and can give you a little bit more solidity in terms of what you want to do with yourself. Frankly, it helped me establish my sense of purpose. Despite the way that CalArts sketchbooks often get popular online, they're not actually the most important part of a CalArts application. The portfolio is. Despite that though, it's still nice to do a good job, so let's talk about that. A complete sketchbook filled with your drawings, observations, stories, research for films you'd like to make, ideas, thumbnails, character designs, studies of images from films or other sources that interest you, etc. A sketchbook is like a window into your brain. It kind of makes me think of, when you'd get CDs back in the day for a film, and then you'd have a second CD, or you'd flip it around, and suddenly you'd get behind the scenes content. Honestly, sometimes that stuff is more interesting than the film itself. So that's how I see a sketchbook. It's like getting to know you a little more deeply. It's getting to find your inner workings, and that's something that you should maintain, because as fun as it is to see finished, polished work, there's something more charming and more insightful about the looser, more explorative stuff. I've always said that by the time a person is finished looking through your sketchbook, it should feel like they've gotten to know you. It should feel like they've met you and had a conversation with you in real life. Who are you? What are you about? We want to see what you are uniquely inspired to draw. We recommend you do not use online sketchbooks for reference. CalArts is looking for people who trust their own creative vision rather than copycats. I've had some personal experience with the idea of copying other people's work, and I'm not like super big and up in arms about art theft. I think it sucks, I think it's annoying, but when young, non-professional people are doing it, it's just a sign of immaturity and a lack of trusting yourself rather than genuine maliciousness. Either way, I feel like because I have one of the more popular sketchbook videos out there, I have seen over the years a lot of both rejected and accepted sketchbooks include pages that, seem kind of familiar. Like, oh, I did that in 2018 and now you're just doing the same thing as me. That's not original, that's not interesting. Doesn't matter how beautiful and skilled your work is, it doesn't have the same intention that my original piece had. And I'm not trying to talk myself up here, that's not what this is. Everyone has a beautiful and unique voice. And so if people are just emulating what I've already done, that's not unique, that's not your voice. It's just like a sock puppet trying to be me again. And it's like, you're probably more interesting than I am. Show me what you've got, not what I've already given. And I don't think it's malicious. I think it's more subconscious and comes from a place of insecurity. This video is to provide the tools for you guys to figure out why something was successful. Often when people are copying mine and my peers' artwork, they see a cool piece of artwork and try and emulate that rather than emulating what was successful about it. At the end of the day, even if the imitation piece is really skilled and well done, it highlights a lack of imagination and frankly feels disrespectful. This is something we don't want in our classroom, so go do your own work. And hey, I'm going to be totally honest here, a lot of the pages in my sketchbooks were inspired in some shape or form by the sketchbooks that were out when I was applying to this school. The thing that I made sure to do though was to make it my own as much as possible. I would take like the seed of what was planted in other sketchbooks and grow it into my own new little Anya plant, as opposed to just like repotting someone else's stuff. I don't know why I went into a plant analogy there, but please draw directly in a sketchbook rather than assembling pages together. Yeah, okay, so CalArts caught onto the trend a couple years ago of people just gluing different bits and pieces into their sketchbook or conglomerating multiple sketchbooks into one spiral bound piece and so forth. So maybe don't do that. Basically, by making a collage of random stuff, it's implying that you're getting all of your best pieces of work rather than just showing everything you've got. A sketchbook is not about being beautiful and perfect, it's about ideas, and ideas often need to flow from one to the other. There's an A point, there's a B point, and then there's that journey in between. And if you're just shoving random things next to each other, it's not really actually showing your creative process, it's just a bunch of disconnected works. Faculty don't want to see you at your best, they want to see you at your default. Now, of course, to get into the school, that has to be the best out of the rest of the applicants, but it's still your default. And frankly, they see it as a little dishonest if you're only showing your highlight reel. Drawings in your sketchbook should be different from the drawings submitted in your online portfolio. The same people are looking at both your sketchbook and your portfolio, so if you kind of double down, you're just showing the same thing twice and wasting everybody's time. Occasionally, it's okay to recycle maybe 1 or 2 pieces in your portfolio. I did that, and that's only if you have something that really stands out that you're super duper proud of. But really, you should be generating enough art to have enough pieces that are outside of your sketchbook that you can put into your portfolio that you don't need to repeat yourself. Sketchbooks come in many different shapes and sizes. Please feel free to work in the type of sketchbook that you like best. I get asked what sketchbooks people should use all the time, and I don't have an answer. I have my personal favorite from a few years ago, which is those Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbooks, but the pages are thick and the paper is super white and there's like 90 pages. that's not suited to everyone. Some people might want to work bigger or smaller, in spiral bound or with tan paper. You know, your sketchbook could be super fancy and beautiful with a wonderful binding, or it could be a $2 piece of crap. Doesn't matter. What does matter though is the drawings you put inside of it. If buying something cheap helps you to be less precious with your work, then that's great. I encourage it. If you want something beautiful to encourage you to draw more and to feel like you're doing something valuable, then go for that. It's really, really up to you. As for how many sketchbooks, you definitely don't need more than one. I kind of went overboard with 2 because I wanted to separate out into different categories my work. So I had my yellow sketchbook, which was about myself and my upbringing, my home. And then my pink sketchbook, which was more designy and exploratory and wasn't so dependent on my upbringing, I suppose. And this is a reminder that that giant list applies to the sketchbook section, so link in description. So, to conclude, if you are applying now, next year, or never, I hope this video has been useful, and I hope you keep in mind my 4 main points that I listed right at the beginning of the video. And those are technical skills, creativity, personality, and enthusiasm. If you highlight those 4 things and work with everything we've discussed today, you are going to be well on your way to creating an awesome portfolio and being a better artist. I also want to remind you that if you do end up applying to CalArts and did everything I suggested but you still get rejected, please don't let that put you down. Of course it's going to be a bummer, but it's not going to define your worth. You are still a wonderful artist, and your stuff you put out into the world is still valuable, so be sure to keep making art no matter what. With an acceptance rate as low as ours, which is like 4 to 6%, there's a chance that by the time they're really narrowing down to the final few, it kind of gets arbitrary, and so it may not be your fault, you know? So yeah, I want to make sure that you guys feel good about yourselves and that you don't become super dependent on acceptance or rejection, because honestly, as far as I can tell from both personal experience and from like literally every guest speaker we've ever had, failure is one of the biggest aspects of the animation industry, whether it be getting rejected from a job or getting a show you're working on cancelled or being fired from a job. Like, you just gotta roll with the punches, and applying to art school is the very start of that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to me talk. I hope you found it useful, and I hope that you have the best time applying if you apply, and I hope you have the best time not applying if you don't apply. But yes, I want to thank my sponsor once again, Extended Studies, CalArts. I love you so much. I really, really, really encourage you go down to the description and check them out. There's a lot on offer. They have fantastic teachers, they have a great amount of courses, and I recommend it every time. If you want to see more from me, I highly recommend you start out with my merch store. Oh my gosh, I do not promote this thing enough, but I am really proud of it. I'm really happy with how the website looks and the stuff I'm offering and the quality of stuff I'm offering. We have t-shirts, hoodies, keychains, stickers, prints, postcards, magnets, washi tape. My art critique service is on there. There's some free downloadables too, and also there's like a little sign up thing you can have there. It's also in the description. It's also on my homepage of a plushie that I'm working on, so you can sign up for updates for that. Just all kinds. www.meppity.shop. Head on over, have some fun, and if you would like some discounts, I highly recommend heading to my other website, my main website, my portfolio, www.meppity.com. There you can see my art, but also hidden in among the pages are some secret discount codes. So keep that in mind. Why not also check out my social media? I am Meppity on all platforms. Everything is linked down below. So that's like Instagram, TikTok, SoundCloud. I don't remember what other social media I have, but it's all down there. And also, whilst you're down there, why not leave a comment? Let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if you are interested in applying to CalArts, or if you stumbled over here by accident and just let autoplay do its thing. Or if you don't know what to say, why not let me know what strange and obscure internet rabbit holes you've gone down lately? I am on my 3rd year of being obsessed with anti-MLM content. And to clarify, MLM is multi-level marketing, not men loving men. I'll let them do their thing. Multi-level marketing or pyramid schemes and stuff. So bizarre, so funny to listen to. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Savannah Marie. I like the way she talks about this kind of stuff. And Hannah Alonso, she always has great MLM horror stories. I don't know, great rabbit hole. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I make all kinds of art content and I hope to be uploading more frequently because guess what? I am going to be taking another year off of CalArts. So yeah. I started CalArts in 2019, so really I should have been graduating this semester, but because I took a year off during the pandemic and I'm taking another one now, I'm gonna take 6 years to graduate, which is fine. It's fine, I'm taking my time. But yeah, so I'll have more time to upload, but I'm still gonna be really inconsistent, I just know it, so don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get updates for when I do end up uploading. If you want to see what else I've been up to these days, such as my short film that I'm making called Fireworks, why not head to Patreon? I offer like exclusive behind the scenes content over there. I also offer one-on-one critiques. There's just a lot of little things that you may enjoy, and I really appreciate any kind of support I can get. So yes, whether it's like emotionally or monetarily, thank you. It means a lot. Yeah, so link in description. Everything's linked in the description. My whole life is in the description. There's a discount code in the description, so if you're hearing this and you want to get merch, you can go down there. I hope you're having a wonderful day, night, morning, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. Alright, bye! I'm gonna keep filming. I'm gonna show you guys around. Oh god, wait. Okay, for those of you who are curious about YouTube video setup, I don't know what I'm doing, but I figured I'd show you anyway, just like, why not? I spent way too much time putting stickers up on my Cintiq, even though you probably can't even see them. I had spent time like hanging all this stuff up, even though you can't see the stuff at the top, and you can't see my license plate over there. And then there's some other people's artwork here. Here, let me give you a better view. This is my messy unmade bed, and then this is my desk with a bunch of stuff under it and a bunch of and also all these wires down here. Like, I have to plug in so many things. So that's that, and then I have like a box of lights, and then this light, and then there's me. And then out here is the great wilderness. Okay, all right, we're done.